Hey you! In this video, I'm going to talk about the Russian tortoise, also called the steppe tortoise, the Afghan tortoise, or the horsefield tortoise. So let's go! Described in 1844 by John Edward Gray, this tortoise was named after the American naturalist Thomas Horsfield. These wonderful little tortoises can be found in Russia, in China, in Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and a lot of stands. These wonderful little tortoises can be found in semi-arid areas, also in rocky plateaux, and sometimes in the mountains. The steppe tortoise, also the horsefield tortoise, or commonly called the Russian tortoise, can live up to 40 years of age. That is something you have to keep in mind before bringing one home, because if you don't want the tortoise anymore, you're going to give it to someone who's going to give it to someone, and eventually it's going to go back to me, because I get calls or emails. Hey, I got a red ear slider, you want to take it? Or hey, I've got a Russian tortoise, you want to take it? So if you really want one, make sure you really want one, or two, or three, or four. Well, these wonderful little tortoises are adapted to climbing. They have long legs, and they are also adapted to harsh environments. In the wild, where they come from, they are subjected to high temperatures during the summer and very low temperatures during the winter. So to resist those harsh conditions, during the summer, they can estivate, so they reduce their activity when the temperature is above 100 degrees. And they can also brumate, or hibernate, depending on who you ask. It's a big debate. One day I'll do a video on the difference between estivation, brumation, fast, hibernation, and adaptation. But that's for another video. During the winter, these animals can stop their activity when the temperature is below freezing. So they go down in their burrows and they wait for spring to come back. And now, let me tell you how I keep, feed, and maintain my Russian tortoises. I like to give them hibiscus leaves and flowers. I also like to give them cactus, squash flowers, dandelion leaves, and flowers. I also like to give them capuchin flowers and endives, spring mix, without the spinach. And twice a year, I like to give them squash, or zucchini, or carrots, that sort of thing. Oh, and I also forgot, I like to give them mazuri. That's like a little pellet that you soak in the water, and it's made of herbs and grasses and all that good stuff for what we call grazing tortoises. I also leave a cuddle bone in their enclosure just to give them the opportunity to absorb more calcium if they want to. Now, I like to keep them outside between April and October, and after that, I'll keep them indoors in terrariums with heat, UV, light, water, food, and all that good stuff. When I keep them outside, I want to make sure that they have plenty of food and plenty of water, and they also have a dry area and also a shaded area and a little tortoise, what I call a little tortoise house, right? When I keep them indoors, I like to keep them in terrariums, either in 40 or 50 gallons, depending, on the size. I like to keep the ambient temperature around 75, and they still have a heat lamp heated about 90 to 95 degrees. During the winter, I like to reduce the feeding to maybe 3 to 4 times a week. During the rest of the year, I like to feed them every day. I gave you a list of stuff that you can feed your tortoise, but you can also feed them all sorts of outdoor grasses and plants and weeds. Make sure, you do your research. There's plenty of websites, plenty of books that tell you what kind of plants are eatable and what kind of plants are not eatable or even toxic. for your precious steppe tortoises, or horsefield tortoises, or Russian tortoises. Males can grow about 6 inches when they get to adulthood. Females can grow a little bit bigger, up to 8, maybe 10 inches. Sometimes bigger, but personally I've never seen a steppe tortoise bigger than 10 inches. Another difference between males and female steppe tortoises is that males usually have a bigger head, longer nails, and they have a long, thick tail with like kind of a hook in the end. Female Russian tortoises, steppe tortoises, or horsefield tortoises, are usually bigger, they have shorter nails, a smaller head, and they have a tiny little tail. Breeding age of a Russian tortoise is usually after 5 to 6 years. Sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later. It depends how the tortoises were raised. I like to keep rocks and bricks in their enclosures. That helps them to trim their nails and also to trim their beak. I like to put the food, on the rocks or on the bricks, and when they walk on the rocks or on the bricks, well, you get the idea. They walk on the thing, they trim the machin, and then the beak and the bon. Alors. Also, another information that you want to keep in mind is the Russian tortoise is actually the first tortoise to go up in space. That's pretty fun. So here you go, that wonderful little video about Russian tortoises is now over. I hope you like this video. You leave a little comment below, you click the clickety-click, and I'll see you very soon for another episode of, well, Oh.